What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
What is it? Is it Sunday night? It's Sunday night, Radio Baloney Live on Sunday night. I am your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you guys are doing well. Here's a big hand for everybody who's out there already. Rosie, Spambot, us and them. Good to see you guys. We got Miles Buckley in the chat as well already. This is great. We're off to a great start. And let me tell you something. I almost didn't go live because I feel like crap. Because I don't know what. Have you ever had that? You'd had some bug that just keeps rattling around inside of you for like a month and it gets better and then it comes back and you just kind of never feel quite right. I almost did. And also to laziness as well. There's also laziness, which is a big part of my personality. But I decided to just suck it up and just go. Just got to do it. Got to keep going. Keep going. Keep ranting. Keep spreading all of my far-right hate across the internet. Although it's not really that. Only two crazy purple-haired gremlins think that, but you know what I mean. My normal opinions. My perfectly normal opinions. Spread my perfectly normal opinions across the internet. And also, by the way, bouncing boobs. Normal to like that. Totally normal. All right. What's going on? Let's get to the chat here quickly. Niles asked, are you going to start the stream soon? Well, yeah. Yeah, we did. We're going. Spambot says, for the love of God, please do not show that energy clip ever again. Ever again. Let's see, Spambot says, that bug that keeps rattling in my brain is that damn energy clip. Well, the thing is, it's actually catchy, it turns out. Let's see. Spambot says, locals and Rumble are lagging. I don't know what to do, man. I don't know. Let's see. I hope it's not on my... But it's not everybody, though. It's just... it's not happening on my side. I got super fast internet, too. X is smooth. Let's see. Us and them. Normal ranting. Truth is always the first casualty of war. Of course it is. Us and them. Of course it is. MHJ35. Number 3 like. Well, who got the first like? It looks like... Let me go back into the chat. It looks like Rosie got the first chat. Oh, no. Spambot fodder. Spambot fodder got the first chat. You know what that means? That means double good karma. Of course, everybody gets a single, but it would be very generous dose of helping of good karma when they like the stream or subscribe. But that first like, double. Ask yourself, can you afford to turn your back on double good karma in these troubled times? I don't think so. I know I wouldn't. All right. I wonder if there'll be some sneezing from me tonight. I think there might be. Let's see. Spambot says it's not catchy. Spambot says it's effing PTSD triggering for me. If that energy clip comes up again, I will remove my thumbs and put a thumbs down in spite. Let me make you a deal. All right. And we'll get to the menu, everything we're going to cover tonight in a second. Let me make you a deal. Hey, Izzy, how you doing? Good to see you. All right, let me make you a deal. One more time, and then I've pondered it, and I'll give you my thoughts on the deeper meaning of the clip. All right, we got a deal? All right, we got a deal. Here we go.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
Okay, I've pondered it, and there is no deeper meaning. It's just look at me. I got nothing else. Look at me. This is all I've got. Pay attention to it. Pay attention to me now. I've got this thing that makes me different. It's the only thing. This is it. I'm not even particularly good at it, but I'm it. So pay attention. That's what it is. That's all it is. There's nothing deeper. It's just a cry for attention. Right? Here's a way that I can be somewhat different in pretend world. Now look at me. That's it. That's all that it means. There's nothing deeper than that. Spambot says, thumbs down, look at me. Rosie says, no, they, them. Well, it's that they, them energy that we all love. I mean, it really is just no deeper than that. It's just look at me. There is nothing deeper. There's absolutely no deeper meaning to that. I guess, okay, so in terms of strategically, it automatically aligns somebody with just whatever far left politics is out there. So once you take those pronouns, now you're locked into just whatever crazy leftism is out there, is on offer for you. That's what you're going to vote for if you vote. I suspect a lot probably don't vote. All right, what are we gonna? So this actually, and I always say that it's gonna be a short stream, and then it never is. Tonight actually is. I've only got like 3 tabs tonight of news, and so we are gonna keep this one short, and we're gonna take a look at wasted money from the Canadian government, because the Canadian public just kind of, and Canadian X just decided to do our own little doge. I've done some myself, and we'll see some of the silly things that money is being wasted on, of course, just perpetuating far left radical ideas. Here's an interesting idea about Canada, US, Mexico, tariffs. We'll get into that. We've got some Canada stuff coming up. We'll go through all of that. I got a bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about Mark Carney and all of his lies. He's just lying nonstop. And thing is, they're all kind of like not the biggest lies. Some of them are more important than others, but some of them are more important than others. But it's just already all of these lies. We'll also go to the polling, which I'm sure is getting liberals very excited. This is 338. This is the aggregate. And it's showing liberals at 33% now versus conservatives at 39%. And right now, an estimate of 160 seats for the conservatives, which would be a minority government, which we can't have a minority. We need to have a majority. I think there are reasons to not sweat it out too much over this. We'll get into that. Then we've got the last tab, which is a hodgepodge of all kinds of different stuff. We got some Joe Rogan in there. We got face tattoos. We got some Elon Musk on Rogan. We got some Nigel Farage in there. We got some Victor Davis Hanson. There's not too much. There's not a ton. We got some Mark Zuckerberg doing weird stuff. What has happened to Mark Zuckerberg? We got some Georgia Baloney in there. That's good times. We've got some video from Airstrip One, formerly known as the UK, where they're just, if you want a view of the future of the boot on a human face forever, well, it was predicted to be in 1984, the UK was Airstrip One, and they seemed determined to not take Orwell's warning seriously and actually just embrace it. Just embrace the dystopia that he imagined. And it's crazy. Stuff you just never thought you'd see. If you were told even 10 years ago some of this stuff, that this would happen, you'd say, no, that's not good. That wouldn't happen in England. No, of course not. All right. So, all right, let's get to a little bit of the chat, and then we'll get started. And yeah, it's not going to be like a 3-hour one. I think we'll be wrapped up before 2 hours tonight, I think. Let's see. So yes, we've established you guys don't like the they them energy video. So I'll just bring it out at certain times now. I mean, the thing is, you have to be vigilant. You have to be on your toes. You have to be alert. And that's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to bring it up when you least expect it, right? Just to show you, just to remind you, you need to be vigilant. All right. I think Spambot's genuinely angry at me for playing the they them energy video. It makes me, honestly, I'm just a contrarian. It makes me want to play the video again, I have to say. You have to practice reverse psychology on me. See, I'm stupid that way. You have to say, we'd really like to see that they them. That's our new favorite video. Then I'll want to not play it at that point. I'll probably remove it off the soundboard. Let's see. Rosa says you can keep the double good karma. I don't know. Maybe I underestimate just how seriously you guys dislike that they them energy video. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. What am I doing? I'm messing with my own audience, fucking with my own audience. What the hell? What gives me the right? What gives me the right? All right, let's just get in it. Let's get into the stories. Let's just do it. What do you guys think? Should we just go? Let's just do it. All right. All right. So let's look at some crazy spending in Canada. Andy Lee, I'm tired of watching people suffering due to this wasteful spending. We can't get clean drinking water for First Nations residents, and people are flocking to food banks. But hey, let's spend $333,000 to decolonize the food system. What can that possibly mean? Let's see. This is Kamloops, British Columbia. And they've been given, there are some people there who I'm guessing their only way of getting money is from the Canadian government, have decided it is really important. It is crucial. It is crucial, as Mark Carney would say, crucial to decolonize the food system, whatever the fuck that means. Agreement. Everybody eats. I bet you the irony is, I guarantee these people are communists as well, where nobody eats, but decolonizing the food system, combating racism, of course, and building community with food. Is that like a gingerbread house or something, or like that house that like the witch lived in, made out of candy in the forest with Hansel and Gretel? I don't know if I like the way this is going. I don't know if I like this direction. Everyone eats, decolonizing the food system. What can that possibly mean exactly? Maybe we should take a deeper dive into that. Program name, it's an anti-racism action program, and the action is decolonizing the food system. So if you just say to the Trudeau Liberals, we need some money for, I don't know, combating racism or something. Oh, how are you going to do that? Let's see. Do you like the word decolonizing? You do. Okay, we're going to decolonize park benches or food. Everybody likes food. We're going to decolonize that. I mean, we're going to decolonize waffles. So apparently you can just say anything as long as it's radical left, as long as it's left wing, it sounds progressive, as long as it's in the right direction, just say anything. They'll just give you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Anti-racism action program. What is the action though? How do you actually go about decolonizing the food system? We're going to have to check this out. Fact check. Give me 1 second. Let's see if we can find anything on this. Okay. So here's something. Decolonizing food. Is that the food system? From Womanley. Decolonizing food, an antidote to oppression. Huh. Seems like it might be an antidote to sanity, or maybe the way that this commie stuff usually works out. It may be a way to, it may be an antidote to having food. It may be an antidote to being fed. I mean, I don't know, just check out like the Soviet Union, communist China. Lots of people didn't get food. In fact, they got so much not food that they became not living. But good communists. Browsing a supermarket aisle, a jar of milky white beef bone broth. Browsing a supermarket aisle, a jar of milky white beef bone broth caught my eye. I'm going to just go ahead here, go out on a limb, and assume that beef bone broth is racist and needs to be decolonized. It was not because of the hip minimalist font and bright packaging, although you did notice it, didn't you? Rather, it caught my attention because it was something I never thought I'd see in a mainstream American grocery store, especially outside of the ethnic aisle. Maybe this is a cultural appropriation angle. Isn't it just Korean beef bone broth? I thought to myself. In the past few years, bone broth has emerged as a trendy superfood in North America. People sip it in coffee cups from broth kiosk cafes, like Chef Marco Canora's Brodo in Manhattan. So something so ancient and fundamental to many cultures around the world has been discovered by white tastemakers, much in the fashion of colonizers discovering lands that were already occupied by indigenous. Well, it's exactly like that, right? Because this is actually before Cortez conquered the Aztecs. He had bone broth kiosks. That's how he started out, right? It's a slippery slope. It's the bone broth is the gateway to conquering the new world. At least according to this wise person. So this is called this is called trying to find a problem where none exists. Right? This is that point where real racism or bigotry or whatever is in such short supply that you just have to start making things up. You know, the rocks, the pebbles, the grains of sand that you've been looking under just keeps getting smaller. You can't find anything. Eventually, you just have to start making stuff up. I've looked under all the pebbles here. I've looked under all the grains of sand on this beach. I didn't find a racism yet. What about that Korean beef bone broth? People have been boiling bones for fucking ever. Like, this is all so insane. Like, everybody does that. You get the hey, guess what? Like, famine was like a pretty common occurrence until fairly recently in human history. People weren't wasting like bone marrow in any culture. It's one thing you find with these people is that they are historically totally illiterate. They just literally know nothing about history. Nothing. Even their own history, they know nothing. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that this is what they're talking about. This decolonizing the food system is like talking about like bone broth. Well, let's see if there's any other articles. Hold on. People ask, what does it mean to decolonize food? Decolonizing food systems involves changing the way we think about food, agriculture, and nutrition. It involves taking back the way food is grown and prepared and providing alternative ways to access foods that are beneficial to our environments and bodies. Okay, but it doesn't seem like they're doing that. And besides, this is all commie gobbledygook, right?
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
The commies are terrible at providing food for the population. Really bad at it. Let's see. Sustained from UBC. So let's see. What is UBC? That's the University of British Columbia. Decolonizing local food system policy. So this is, okay. This is exactly what we're talking about here. Decolonize the food system. All right. Decolonized an inclusive food and culture gardens in the city of Vancouver Park Board. This is going to be rich. All right. Oh, so you've got the land acknowledgement at the start, of course. Let's see. They also want to acknowledge the disproportionate impact of climate change has on Indigenous communities. All right. So they're just checking off all the boxes here. Positionality is the social and political context that creates your identity regarding race, class, gender, sexuality, and ability status. Positionality also describes how your identity influences and biases your understanding of an outlook on the world. So positionality, what it really means is a way to try and confuse you with a bunch of jumbled garbage. Try and confuse you about what a person even is, right? All right. Let's see. As a researcher, it is important to identify my position and degrees of privilege. Oh, fuck off. I am a white, able-bodied settler of Western European descent on both my maternal and paternal sides. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Let's see. The LFSAP's vision is to move towards a sustainable, just, and decolonized local food system by making space for indigenous food sovereignty. What does this mean? Increasing equitable access to food assets and services and working towards food system resiliency as part of climate action. So what does any of this mean? Like, it's always just a word salad, right? Like positionality, followed by a giant word salad. Indigenous food sovereignty. So that means they provide all of their own food themselves? Would that make sense? But, I mean, people are going to want to have an Oreo every once in a while. Let's see, what else we got? Food and culture gardens are community-supported gardens that provide space for individuals and groups to grow food, herbs, blah, 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 blah. Okay, none of this is revolutionary. There's been community gardens forever. Anybody can use them. Let's see. So what does any of this mean? Indigenous food sovereignty. Here it is. Describes strategies that enable and support the ability of indigenous communities to sustain traditional hunting, fishing, gathering, farming, and distribution practices the way we have done for thousands of years prior to contact with the first European settlers. So are they saying here, these people, these white colonialist settlers, want indigenous people to only eat food that they have gotten through hunting, fishing, gathering, farming, and distribution practices that they've done for thousands of years? So they want to just erase the future, apparently, according to, they want to erase history up until, they want to erase colonialism, right? So then I guess these white settler people, these white settler colonists who made this, want them to only to go back to hunter-gathering, basically. Which seems kind of weird. Did they ask any of the indigenous people about this? In any case, as you can see, this is all ridiculous. It's a total waste of money. It doesn't mean anything. This is the grift, right? So this is just the government will give money to spread ridiculous leftist bullshit. In this case, hundreds of thousands of dollars from Canadian Heritage. What's the next one? We got 319,000 decolonizing identity on the land. What can that possibly mean? It will address colonial barriers of the gender binary and heteropatriarchy in on the land spaces that lack the safety and inclusion of gender and or sexually diverse individuals. Everything just ends up being a word salad. It's intentionally poorly written because they hope that it will hide the lack of meaning or sense in any of it. It will address colonial barriers of the gender binary. So what does that mean? So I guess what this means is, and they say this, the leftists, they say this, the woke, they say this in their literature, right? That gender binary is a European, a white invention, along with work ethic, nuclear family, another invention of white people, according to these fucking woke lunatics. So that must be what they mean there. So the colonial barrier of the gender binary, which is invented by white people, because before white people, everybody in the world was just some part of some infinite rainbow of different binaries and genders, even though there's absolutely no evidence of this in the historical record. Certainly not widespread. Certainly not, dominating any culture. Maybe you can find some tribe that was living somewhere, okay, but it's not. It's the exception that proves the rule, if it exists. Colonial barriers of the gender binary and heteropatriarchy. Like, is it that they can't write, or they just intentionally write poorly to kind of shroud everything they do in some sort of, to try and confuse everybody? So they just go, I'll just give them the money. We don't know what it means. Heteropatriarchy in on the land spaces that lack the safety and inclusion of gender and or sexually diverse individuals. So let's say land spaces. So we could just say land in on, you could just say land or spaces. You could say spaces that are unsafe for gender diverse people or sexually diverse people. You could just say that. But look at this, how this is like, it will address colonial barriers of the gender binary and heteropatriarchy in on the land space. Like, this is just, these people, they can't even write it out properly. $319,000 for gibberish. Let's see, equality for sex. Well, let's see, organization Women and Gender Equality Canada. It seems that there's not much emphasis on the women part, and more just on about the non-gender binary and sexually diverse individuals. Women actually seem to be a very little actual concern to the left anymore. They've been abandoned for more interesting people, more interesting victims, I guess, societal victims of the patriarchy or heteropatriarchy or whatever, or the colonial gender binary. It's all total gibberish. This is just a grift. They probably are laughing their heads off when they get money for this shit. All right, let's go see what you guys are talking about. All right. Let's see. Us and Them says, I'll tell you exactly what all this food crap means. They want you to eat shit and die. That simplifies it for everyone. Probably something about that. Rumbum, don't forget Z-Bugs, right? They didn't mention bugs in that. Soon I'm sure they'll be mentioning bugs as the way to fight the colonialist heteropatriarchy systems of food or whatever they say. Let's see. Turtle says, who passed out the Kool-Aid around for the gender cult? Well, let's see. Izzy says, so white people aren't allowed to make bone broth now. According to that, it's exactly the same as actually as colonizing the New World. I mean, they ended up putting a lot of great stuff in the New World, right? It's like, we should not overlook. That seems to be the thing that always gets overlooked. It's like an amazing technological civilization, which is, but of course, nothing's perfect, but is by far now today still even with the problems, like with Canada, even after 10 years of Trudeau, right? Like, this level of prosperity and freedom was just unheard of in human history prior to Western, these liberal democracies of the Western world. Of course, you can lose that awfully fast, which Canada's definitely at risk of doing. It looks like the U.S. has kind of hit the right direction. So they might be saving themselves. Let's see. MHJ says, laugh for the week. Hilarious word salad about food colonization. All the other words. Canada needs a Doge invasion. Yeah, well, I mean, we've been kind of doing it. The Canadian, Canadian X or Twitter has kind of taken it upon ourselves. We don't have an official one yet. We need one. It's from Brian Lilly. So this is an interesting development on this tariffs issue, which has the Canadian government freaking out and has spawned this fake Team Canada, pitch from left-wing politicians in Canada, including Justin Trudeau, who have spent, the last decade at telling us all that Canada's an awful white supremacy genocide state. So some people buy into it. Some people just see it as a more cynical political maneuvering, which is exactly what it is. Let's see. From Brian Lilly, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Bloomberg TV that Mexico has proposed matching Washington's tariffs on China. He urged Canada to do the same. Well, let's take a look at what he's saying.
When we look at tariffs, there's a lot of different things being talked about, proposed, threatened, even imposed. One of them is Mexico, which comes up next week. Is it important to get the revenue from the Mexico tariffs? Because I know Mexico is sort of moving, it appears, right now, for example, with respect to tariffs on things coming into Mexico from China. Can they get off the hook on tariffs?
So the tariff negotiation isn't under the purview of Treasury. It's USTR, U.S. Trade Representative, and Commerce. So I'm going to leave that question to them. I do think one very interesting proposal that the Mexican government has made is perhaps matching the U.S. On our China tariffs. I think it would be a nice gesture if the Canadians did it also. So in a way, we could have Fortress North America from the flood of Chinese imports that's coming out of the most unbalanced economy in the history of modern times.
When we look at tariffs, there's a lot of different things being talked about.
So he said Fortress North America, and he's not just pulling that out of nowhere. He didn't just make that up on the spot, right? And I've been saying this for a while. I think the ultimate goal is actually a kind of greater integration, turning North America into more of a bloc, or Fortress North America, as Scott Bessent just said there. And it makes sense, right? As Trump distances himself from the EU, the UN, from these globalist organizations, it does make sense. I mean, it's entirely possible that all of this pressure that's being put on Mexico and Canada now is to kind of soften us up for some greater integration, not 51st state. That's never going to happen. Or I should say that it won't happen if Canada has responsible, reasonable governance. If we were to elect like a Mark Carney, I could actually see a big secessionist movement coming up with Alberta, which would also strengthen Quebec as well. I think that would empower. They would feel empowered by that as well. I mean, because Mark Carney, it needs to be said, in his book, talks about dismantling the energy industry in Alberta, and then replacing it with whatever great, beautiful new opportunities. He says. It doesn't really say, but the beautiful new opportunities for Alberta. What it would do is it would put Albertans into poverty, is what it would do. It would be a disaster, and there's no amount of cricket farms that's going to change that. So I could see then the country starting to fall apart. Because when the shit really hits the fan, when you reach that line when you go, it's just not going to work anymore. This is not going to work anymore. We're being led by fanatics, by lunatics, by eco-fanatics, eco-lunatics, by globalist technocrats who are totally indifferent to people and only concerned with their ideology. Which I'm telling you right now, that is Mark Carney to a T. But I think where all this is leading is to some sort of greater integration. Again, I don't think that he said Fortress North America by accident. I think that's where that's going. And I'm not saying giving up sovereignty. I'm saying that something that would benefit everybody, frankly, because it just does make sense. We're all right here, right? I mean, some Canadians may not want to hear this, but like, we are totally dependent on the United States for our defense. The reason we don't get invaded now is because of the United States. That's why. Right? Everybody has to be a little bit careful with Canada because of the United States, or at least they did. At least historically that was the case. Because we have Big Brother right there. Some Canadians may not want to hear that, but it's just the truth. Cooperation just has always made sense, and it always will make sense, right? Unfortunately, we're seeing this extremely bellicose language from the Canadian politicians, all of them, including Pierre Poilievre, which saddens me. I understand why he's doing it. It's a political move. Is it cynical? Yeah. I don't really like it. I think Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has been much better on this and sounded much more just sane and wise on the issue and strategic. But I just thought this was interesting. He urged Canada to do the same, matching Washington's tariffs on China. He urged Canada to do the same, perhaps as a way to avoid tariffs on Canadian goods and create Fortress North America. I mean, that seems like a rational thing. I don't think current leadership would be interested in that, for one thing, because there seems to have been just an enormous amount of foreign interference from China in Canada, which is one of the Trump administration's concerns about Canada, something they want rectified. It seems that the Liberal Party of Canada has something going on with the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP is even interfering, it's been documented now, it's not my opinion, has interfered in the Liberal leadership race on behalf of Mark Carney, for Mark Carney, their preferred candidate. So, I think with a Conservative government, yeah, I think it'd be a no-brainer. We'll have to see what happens. Let's see. So, from CTV News, Chrystia Freeland takes shots at Poilievre Trudeau on Real Time with Bill Maher. And Mark Carney went down to Jon Stewart. Why did they even bother? Why would Mark did Mark Carney is a globalist central banker tied in with the UNWEF? Did Jon Stewart owe the UN something? I don't know. Why would Chrystia Freeland? Why would it? Nobody in Bill Maher's audience knows who Chrystia Freeland is. Rupa Subramanya says, Rupa Subramanya, who's a Canadian journalist, very good, great Canadian patriotism on view. Rail against America and call for the boycott of American products, but fly to America and seize every opportunity to appear on American television. I really have no idea how people live with this cognitive dissonance, because it would drive me crazy. It's because they have no principles, right? It's all just maneuvering. They have no principles. Nothing means anything to them. They don't care. I mean, Chrystia Freeland, we've had like a decade to see just how much she doesn't care, right? And how much everything is cynical. And how much everything is just maneuvering. Just her willingness to literally say anything. Not for the long-term advantage of Canada, say, but for her and her political career. The short-term outlook for her and her political career. They don't appear to think long-term at all, these people, in any way. Let's see. So here's Justin Trudeau. Russia illegally and unjustifiably invaded Ukraine, he says. For 3 years now, Ukrainians have fought with courage and resilience. Their fight for democracy, freedom, and sovereignty is a fight that matters to us all. Canada will continue to stand with Ukraine and Ukrainians in achieving a just and lasting peace. What was the response here from Mike Lee? Talk to us when you've shelled out $200 billion. He's been warmongering the entire time, Trudeau. Liberals, this is how you know they're not he's not a liberal, and the Liberal Party is not a liberal party anymore. It's an illiberal party now. They used to be against wars, right? The Ukraine-Russia war is just an unbelievably brutal and horrible war. It should be ended. There is no winning for Ukraine in this. It's just simply a matter of logistics, right? It's attritional war that's being fought. One side has way more people. The other side has a lot less people. One side has 10 times as much material, like artillery shells, all of that. It's just, it's already, it's not decided, but there is no winning. Like the end is not in doubt of this conflict. The front moves slowly, but every day the front moves west, and it's just going to continue until the line collapses, and that's it. I'm really sick of Justin Trudeau. Why can't he just shut up? I mean, he's stepping down in what, like 7 days now in a week? Just don't say anything else. Don't say anything that's going to affect our relationship with the United States, with the Trump administration. Just fucking shut up. Shut up. Let's see. So, Canada action. The world needs more Canadian energy. It's time for a new approach that doesn't hold Canada back. So this is after, let's see, the Japan, representatives from Japan came to Canada, asked us for LNG. Trudeau said, no, there's no financial case for it, he said. This is after European leaders, including the Chancellor of Germany, came to Canada and said, hey, can we have some of your LNG? We really need that now. Trudeau said, nope, there's no financial case for it, but we've got some hydrogen boondoggle in the future, which they went, sure, yeah, just let us know when that happens. So you can see here, EU considers investing in LNG projects abroad, wants to end Russian reliance. Japan prioritizes oil and gas exploration through 2030. UK energy, major returns focus to oil and gas, reverses renewables goals. This is all the stuff, this renewables goals, net zero. This was Mark Carney's stuff. This is the stuff that he's still preaching and he wants to inflict on Canada. Norway prioritizes oil and gas, plans to boost production 10% by 2027. Trudeau said, nope, don't look to us. We can't make a financial case for it, for the thing that entire countries desperately need and will absolutely pay a premium for so that their countries don't collapse. No financial case for that, according to Trudeau. And I guarantee you that's what Mark Carney told him to say that. Because that's Mark Carney's whole thing. Once Canadians get to know who this guy is, they're not going to like him. They're going to like him less and less the more that they get to know him. Total lunacy. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, per capita GDP in Canada for 2024 down 1.4%, following a decline of 1.3% in 2023. That's basically GDP per capita is how much people individually make. So it's not, it's not the national, gross national product, right? It's what you're doing individually, and that's going down. That means the standard of living is going down. Stop all the happy talk. Canada is a mess. It is. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you fall asleep and you elect people based on hair and teeth. What's going on here? Franco Terrazzano. So he is in the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. He runs that, I believe. Let's see. So what is he saying? I think he's going to tell us some of the stuff that the government is wasting money on.
Can you tell us a little bit and educate us on the Global Affairs Canada and what that's about?
Yeah, I would say Global Affairs Canada is a little bit analogous to the U.S. aid or whatever the department's called down there that DOGE is auditing. And let me just say, like Global Affairs Canada, they deal with a lot of our foreign spending abroad, cultural diplomacy, things of that nature. But you know what? Global Affairs Canada may be the worst waste offender in the entire federal government, and that's saying a lot. we need to open up the books at Global Affairs Canada. Like, we got just one access to information request back. It's more than 1,000 pages. And folks, like, you're not going to believe some of the ways that they're wasting your money. Now, I'm just going to list off some stuff, folks. So they spent $1,700 on a musical called Lesbian Pirates. They spent $8,800, almost 9,000 grand, on a sex toy show in Germany. This is your money, folks. How many Canadians are struggling out there, waiting forever to get a hip replacement? And yet our government spent $7.2 million for a, quote, gender responsive systems approach to universal health care in the Philippines.
Yeah, so what? That's Talk Truth with Alan and Corey Hunsberger. Oh, you can check them out. Yeah, I mean, it's just, this has to end. This has to end. I'm sure the conservatives are going to make a bunch of ads featuring all of this stuff for when the election does come. I think the election will come soon. And I'll tell you why. Here's the latest aggregate poll from 338 Canada. This is the highest I've seen the Liberals. It's 33%. They've got Conservatives 39% in this. And you see the Conservatives dropping out of majority there. So if they don't get a majority, they're not going to get anything done. So at first glance, you see this and you go, oh, we're not going to do it, are we? We're not going to blow it, are we? But you got to calm down for a second. So for one thing, Canada has a lot less polls than, fraction of the polls they have in the States for their elections, right? So when you have one or two outliers in Canadian elections, that actually skews it a lot more. There's a couple of real outliers out there right now. So I think you can probably, I could be wrong, of course, take all of this with a grain of salt, right? I could be wrong. I think this is overestimating it. You also have to take into consideration, you've got Justin Trudeau. I'm telling you right now, a lot of Canadians didn't even know that he was resigning. I guarantee you that, all right? A lot of Canadians didn't even know that he was resigning, right? And because most people aren't paying attention to politics. I think Canadians are actually less engaged with politics than Americans are as well. So, very unpopular leader, Justin Trudeau, is stepping down. New leader in his place. And, for those that are interested in the Liberal Party, right, all of a sudden you're going to get a bump. Because, well, that bad guy's gone. And here's this guy who looks he seems like more responsible somehow. They don't know anything about him. They're certainly not going to read his book. Very unlikely to watch any of his old interviews and see any of the insanity, the eco-insanity that he's been spewing. But you're going to get that bump, right? I also believe that we're starting to see a bit of the Kamala effect happening here. A couple of outlier polls that just don't make a lot of sense. And that's kind of a new thing for Canadian politics, but it seems to be the case. Well, I mean, I showed you the Ecos poll. The guy who runs Ecos tweeted, then deleted, that he was going to use all means at his disposal to stop Pierre Poilievre, conservative leader, from becoming prime minister, right? So there's one poll there, which is just way out. They've got like conservatives and liberals neck and neck. That's going to affect this aggregate. But you will always see a bit of a bump when you have an unpopular party leader leave and then be replaced. We've seen this in 1984. John Turner was actually supposed to win that election for the Liberals, ended up getting wiped out. We saw actually Kim Campbell actually go way up in the polling in 1993, and then end up getting wiped out by the Liberals in the election. Different Liberal Party than today. It's not even remotely the same ideology. And of course, there's the matter that most Canadians, I'd say probably half of Canadians, still wouldn't be able to name Mark Carney if you showed them a picture of him, or 40%, 50 to 40% probably wouldn't be able to name who it was, have no idea. There's these large portions of the population that are just living their lives, not paying any attention to what's happening around them. But in any case, as he becomes better known, He's going to be liked less and less, and there are reasons for this. He's clearly just going to keep doing what Justin Trudeau was doing, or whatever he says. Clearly, his ideological goals are not only aligned, but they actually influence Trudeau. So Trudeau was just kind of doing what Carney would have done, and Carney's going to keep doing what he would do. Same thing, probably a little more efficiently, maybe, right? But as they get to know this globalist hobgoblin, he's going to be liked less and less, and there's historical precedence for this. Now let's go to Carney. So one problem with him is that he lies all the time. So since Tuesday, Carney has lied about, this is from February 28th. So since Tuesday, Carney has lied about his role in Brookfield moving their headquarters to New York from Toronto. Yes, he made the decision before he stepped down from Brookfield asset manager. He made that decision. He voted unanimously with the board. Before then, he lied about that. Let's see. He lied that he helped Paul Martin balance the budget. We talked about this in the last live stream. No, he didn't. No, that's just not true. He wasn't even in government until 2004. Let's see. Also, he claimed that he had resigned from all his board positions. Not true. He has not. Let's see. Here's a new one. I've dealt with Trump in the past, Mark Carney says. Let's hear him say it.
Trump, and I've dealt with Trump in the past. He respects strength. He respects strength. Like a lot of bullies.
He has not dealt with Trump in the past. When would he have ever had the opportunity to deal with Trump? I mean, Trump, I guess he was the head of the Bank of England while Trump was in office, but he certainly would not have been dealing directly with Trump in any way. Like, he has not dealt with Trump. He's just lying. There's 4 lies in just like a few weeks. What, like a month? 4 lies. And they're all kind of, easily checked, like easily debunked lies, and lies they didn't need to tell. They're kind of trivial lies in some way, right? Like, he didn't need to do it. He seems to be a congenital liar. Just lie. Now, it makes sense that it makes sense considering that he's a progressive. He's a radical progressive, right? He's already announced to us that, Trump is fighting woke. We're not going to do that in Canada. We love woke. I love woke. So as a radical progressive, radical leftist, right, he won't accept, well, typically they don't accept objective reality. So the truth is just whatever you want it to be. Maybe that's his angle that he's coming from, right? To him, it's just, well, you just lie. You just, whatever is advantageous, whatever is politically expedient in the moment, you just say that. I mean, nothing's real anyway, right? There's no objective truth. There's only power. That's the only thing that matters. But I mean, if you want to speak to character and judgment, I mean, this is now already rivaling Trudeau in terms of bad judgment, in terms of dishonesty. It appears that every time he says something, he's lying about some part of it. Trump has mentioned Trudeau, Freeland, and Poilievre, but never Carney. I strongly suspect he has no idea who he is. What do you think? Do you think that he's ever dealt with Trump, or Trump has never met him and wouldn't remember him even if he had? At what point will Canadian media start fact-checking this habitual exaggerator? Well, they won't. And when they do it, it will be for apologetics. So to kind of smooth it all over and spin it in a positive way for Mark Carney. Fortunately, we have social media now. Pierre Poilievre, Carney caught in another lie. You can't believe a word he says. Let's take a look.
At no point did Mark Carney work with Paul Martin to balance the budget. Not, at least not according to his own resume. I mean, if he wants to call in and say, oh no, I had this secret thing that I've never talked about before while I was working for Goldman Sachs in Hong Kong, I did something. Carney wants to be prime minister. He wants to be liberal leader. He needs to start telling the truth and not making up stuff that is easily refuted just by looking at the facts. At no point.
So to restate, like, this is showing already major lapses in judgment and major lapses in character. This is a problem, right? Yes, he's being coronated by the media, by the Liberal Party establishment. I think they're making a mistake, but I think it's a mistake they're unable to anticipate because of just the way they view politics, their place in it, and people and humanity, the hoi polloi, right? The unwashed masses, the voters, right? I think they're incapable of anticipating their mistake because they have so little regard for regular people, right? So this guy, Mark Carney, is a self-described elitist globalist, right? He's a technocrat, a central banker, central planner. Right? So, and this is all clear in his book, by the way, as well, right? So he does not believe in that kind of patchwork quilt of consequential knowledge, right? That like farmers have certain specialized skills that they have, that they learn, that's passed down through generations. The kind of knowledge you can only get from actually being in there and doing it and having to solve, an infinite number of problems all the time, practically, right? Or a plumber, the same thing. A plumber is going to have to get creative to solve problems because there's always going to be something done in a slightly different way that you're going to have to figure out. And you can just spread that across an entire society. It's this patchwork quilt of consequential knowledge of people who know how to do what they do. And a central planner can never do that because they can't anticipate all of the problems. Right? This uncountable number of problems and scenarios that people just find themselves in doing their jobs. Mark Carney doesn't believe in that. He's a central planner. Right? He knows best. He's a believer in bureaucracies, right? That will make the decisions for you. All decisions, micromanage your life, everything. So when you're coming at it from that perspective, because fundamentally, by the way, the technocrats, these are credentialists. Like if you don't have that degree that they respect, you are nothing. You know nothing. Right? So even if the discipline that you have your degree in is built on just nonsense, right? Like a gender studies, right? It's nothing real about that. That's not built on reality. It's just this house of cards. It's just this kind of progressive construct of nothing. But that's what these people respect. They don't respect the regular person. They don't understand the regular person. They don't understand what they go through. They don't understand all the little problems they have to solve themselves, right? He knows best for you, for all people, in all situations. So if you're coming at the world and society from that position, that you're not going to anticipate a problem like the mainstream media isn't going to be able to just do all the work for you and cover for you and spin for you and just kind of ease you right into the position, just coronate you. Then I forgot where I was going with this. Can somebody remind me? I told you I almost didn't do this stream tonight. But on the question of lying and not anticipating that this would all be revealed, right? Again, he's not thinking about social media. I guess he's still working on that. He's still got that central planner's mindset, that old school central planner's mindset that the mainstream media is everything. So if social media is nothing, the people on social media are nothing, They don't matter. All that matters is what Rosie Barton reads off her teleprompter, right? So when you look at the world that way, right, then you wouldn't anticipate the problem with just telling lies for apparently, very little gain, really. I mean, I understand the point. It's supposed to make him look better, but he's not gaining that much from it, especially considering that it's immediately debunked. And all of those millions of people that are not watching Rosemary Barton to hear her read their opinions to them from a teleprompter, all those millions of people are going to know. They are going to find out. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be a shit show with Carney. I think that we're seeing numbers now. We're seeing the bump now, but it's going to crash. And again, we've seen similar things in the past, and it ultimately didn't work. Right? What else we got here? So, yeah, here's Mark Carney actually built the pyramids. Hashtag Carney lies. So there's a lot of these going out right now, where people are just, there he is, singing at Live Aid for Queen. Mark Carney, of course. See, this is going to happen if you just tell obviously easily debunked lies over and over again while you're in a leadership campaign. Here he is discovering the Americas. So, yeah, this is what happens now, right? How does he not know this? How has he not anticipated this? Well, he hasn't anticipated it because he is an elitist, globalist, out of touch central planner. All right. What else we got going on here? All right. So I'm going to take a break for just a couple of minutes. I got to take a quick break. And then we'll be back. We'll take a look at the chat, and we'll move on to the last tab for the evening. I'll be right back, you guys. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. If you're watching the show right now and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Get that free good karma when you do. You can put a testimonial in the chat to tell us all what good things happened to you because of that good karma you received. Also, liking the stream, extremely important. Liking the stream is extremely important. Good for your complexion, they say. I don't know if that's true. It's not true, but it couldn't hurt. So go ahead and do that right now. And I think it's time to turn off the YouTube part of the stream. So right now we're streaming on Rumble, YouTube, X, and Locals. And I think we'll cut off. We usually cut off the YouTube portion earlier for obvious reasons, censorship reasons, that sort of thing. So if you're watching YouTube right now, please, first off, if you're watching YouTube on YouTube right now, I want you to know you are loved. You are valued by Radio Baloney. I want you to come over to Rumble because there's actually lots of people there, and the chat is quite active and very nice, and the people are great, and I think you'll have a better time there, quite frankly. I mean, I value you on YouTube. Of course I do. But it's just a little bit, it's a little nicer over here. That's all I got to say. Just a little bit nicer over on the Rumble side. So join us over on the Rumble side. All right. And also, too, I'm going to be starting to do some Rumble Premium only streams. So if you come to Rumble and you get Rumble Premium, you can watch my Rumble only streams. So Rumble Premium only streams. So do that. And then we'll see you over there. And talk to you later. There we go.